a Ghanatube so ebuzia form dot slow mesan so emamo akwa ababiom matna CD na ewie insem ahodo enkoso ewo oman Ghana mu na entempara no me ntwentwen so emfama mu no yebeka kotie insem ahodo bi a ekoso ewo oman Ghana.
We are kind of family.
Yes. So
Kenufrata's grandfather, let me get it right, grandfather. Ufrata the first is the half brother of JB Dankwa. And JB Dankwa is my grand uncle. Yeah. JB Dankwa is my grandmother's brother. So, and my first trip to the US, I stayed with Ken. We slept in the same bed.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so that's the relationship.
Seeing that he's family and you know him, when you look back on his tenure as finance minister, what would your verdict be?
Disaster.
Disaster?
Of course. Look, if it wasn't disastrous between him and the president, the people of Ghana wouldn't have voted the way they voted. It's not me saying. The verdict is captured in the results of the elections. It's as simple as that. You know, you do not run the economy where almost everybody is suffering, okay, and expect that the people will not object. And that's what the voters of this country did last year.
I mean, it's fascinating you say that. I mean, I remember very vividly when he was appointed. There was a renewed sense of hope and optimism because of his background.
Yeah.
You know him. You slept in his bed in the US. And he really had built a reputation from the US.
Correct.
With data buying. Yeah. So everybody thought if you really needed a man, a finance minister for our time, Ken was the guy because of his international experience, going to bring all that to bear. But here you are, 8 years on, you described his tenure as disastrous. What happened?
I don't know what happened. I mean, I remember when he was appointed, I sent him a message congratulating him and urging him to do the best he could for this country and leave a legacy, you know. And that is what we all expected. We were all very hopeful. But subsequent events have betrayed that hope. Why would you do that? Why would you go after pensioners' money? It's one thing that people can never forgive Akufo-Addo and Kenufrata for.
You lost money.
I lost money. Well, pensioners picketed. The former CJ came to picket with us, etc.
So you were also on the Sun. You were on the Sun picketing.
No, I didn't go. I didn't go to picket.
But those colleagues, pensioners of yours,
yeah,
did.
Those who were working the technical details behind the scene and those who were vociferous out front there, etc. You know, but I lost money in the Eurobond. Yeah,
you said those who lost money will never forgive Akufo-Addo and Ken. You have never forgiven them.
No, I will not. I will not, because I saw them live large.
You saw them live large?
Yes, they live large. You know, and so why do you want to live large at the expense of my pension? You understand me?
Yeah.
It's something that should not be trivialized at all. To have a cabinet meeting and decide that in solving the country's debt problems, I'm going to include pensioners. That's dark.
Who'd you blame it on?
You mean my forced retirement from the bank?
Now you use the word.
Is that what you're talking about?
Forced retirement, yes.
Yeah, that's how I put it in. Well, I say forced because I had a contract which hadn't expired.
Yeah.
And the governor thought that he would use this administrative decision to cause me to take early retirement. And I bless him for it, because I think I've profited from that. You know, I know I made him aware of the fact that it is not right for him to do what he's doing.
So you mean Addison?
Oh yes, Addison, yes. Because you cannot use an administrative fiat to frustrate an existing contract. That's what the lawyers say. There are people, very powerful people, who suggested that I should take the issue up in court. But for me, it wasn't necessary. What would I go to court for? You know, I started work with the intention of retiring at 55, and I retired at 57. So it was never my intention to get to 60, you know, and today when I go to bed, I sleep. I don't have to worry about bad loans and capital adequacy ratios and all these things, you know, so I think he did me a favor.
So that was a confirmation that I'm happy to have gotten from you with this forced retirement.
Yeah.
You were forced to retire?
No, it was an administrative fiat which came and says, if you've served more than 12 years as CEO,
you have to go. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But at the time, mere mortals saw that, oh, but this is a BOG just doing what BOG should do. It had nothing to do with Frankie B. Jr. But you say this was a cover for
But I was the only person who left.
Okay. So this was crafted to get you?
I would never say, I won't suggest that. All I know is that I'm the only person who left.
At the time?
Yes.
At the time.
But I wasn't the only person who had done, I don't think I was the only person who had done 12 years.
Yeah. And it was important, of course, once that was put in place, it was impossible for you to stay. So you had to let go.
It was what?
It was, once that was crafted, that administrative fiat, it was impossible for you to stay. So you had to.
I could have stayed if I'd gone to court.
You had to, but you chose not to challenge it.
What is the point? I mean, go to court and defeat the governor in court, and then go for a meeting with him. It's a Pyrrhic victory. There was no point. There was no way I was going to do that.
What's your verdict on the last 6 months?
It's early days yet, and I think every time there's a change of government, the government seems to have a period of some honeymoon period, so to speak, and people are accommodating, etc. I think that President Mahama, he made promises, and the thing for him to do is to try and keep the promises. Luckily, we've had some stability, particularly in the currency. There's been an appreciation of the cedi, and that seems to have stabilized around 11, 12 cedis. So it allows for planning, etc. Hopefully that continues. I think the difficulty is in keeping those promises, and the kind of political system we're operating in this country basically forces contestants to make promises, and then when they come, they have a difficulty meeting those promises. And that is where then you begin to have the challenge. So far, so good, but President Mahama has to be mindful of how his appointees deliver. It's going to be very difficult, and it's one of the reasons being the processes you go through to become president, and then the appointments you make. So, for instance, I have not seen or heard in the past probably 18 years any minister of a sector or a president criticize or question an appointee for non-performance. And you know why? It's because all these appointees are political affiliates.
Abusiafo medam ase se mudi machi e mayekotie eye ensem no na meni se motie ama mo de comment e be me e comment mo nya sa enfama me na menkinkai e ma mo fefefe aha eye Ghanatube so bi on subscribe ya abusiafo to bo ase na subscribe na Facebook me a eye notification bell no so se na bia ensem no mudi tuma na wenya ne intempas me ma we mfin so se obe like na afin so wa share in videos we e wa channel we so abusiafo aha Ghanatube so mo do for snowy sisi ade makramo